so that more of the participants can join,
Okay.
and then we go.
Okay. Oh, thank you.
Yes, sir. So we are starting the session today. Very good evening, all the dignitaries, respected speakers of the day, and dear research scholars. I welcome you all on the GAP platform on the fourth day of the FDP, jointly organized by MD College of Arts, Science and Commerce, Mumbai, and Grand Academic Portal. Today, we have with us our own GAC CEO, Dr. Preeti Oza ma'am, and Dr. Balur Bakshi sir with us as our today's speaker. It is always pleasure to attend your session, ma'am and sir. I welcome you, ma'am and sir, and all the participants of the day. Thank you, sir. And sir, you can proceed now.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. So today, our chief guest, our resource person, are Dr. Preeti Oza ma'am. Preeti Oza ma'am work as a assistant professor of English at St. Andrews College, University of Mumbai. She has also got the postdoctoral fellowship named ICI Fellowship from the University of Hong Kong for her MPhil and PhD. Ma'am also done her PG diploma in mass communication and the journalism as well as film studies. She has been teaching or she is having more than 70 years of teaching experience. She teaches especially communication, language skills, English literature, advertising and media studies in various UG and PG programs in Mumbai's colleges. She is working in the areas of skill development, especially soft skill, which lead to the direct development in the service sector. Ma'am's favorite research areas are cultural studies, media studies, language acquisition, and communication skill, including soft skills. Several international and national, fellowship and grants ma'am have achieved. Ma'am are also, the recipients of Asian Fellowship for the postdoctoral fellowship sponsored by the University of Hong Kong, as well as she got twice a sponsorship from the UGC to present her research paper in an international conferences as well as workshops. Preeti ma'am also received uh, uh, presented her research paper in the Sorbonne University, Paris in 2013, as well as in 2016. She also presented her research paper in the International Conference, Vienna, Australia. Apart from that, ma'am also is a founder and the trustee of GAP, Grand Academic Portal, and NGO working in the higher education in India, registered with the Niti Aayog of the Government of India. Apart from that, she is also the promoter and the director of the Global Academic Assessment consortium, eight per section company, a startup basically having interest in academic excellence of higher education institution. She has registered 6 intellectual property rights with the Ministry of Commerce, Government of India. Preeti ma'am regularly conduct faculty development program like this on various areas like communication, research, assessment, and quality enhancement in higher education. And one of the greatest achievement of ma'am is she is the chief editor of 4 international journals. She's also worked on editorial board of journals called Sage Publication, MDPI, and Enroll. Apart from it, she's also worked on the various committees of University of Mumbai, Dr. Homi Bhabha State University, Mumbai, Wilson College, Nalanda College, Days College also. Ma'am also published 27 books, 85 articles, books, chapters, and organized more than 35 conferences and workshops. And recently, ma'am was invited to deliver a lecture on human dignity in religious traditions at the Christchurch University of Oxford, United Kingdom in July 22. It is a funded program of the International Center of Law and the Religious Studies and Brigham Young University, USA. So that is a brief bio of Preeti Oza, ma'am.
Thank you, Avinash sir. It's always a pleasure to work with the colleagues. Professor Avinash Pawar sir is my colleague, and we are in some of the committees together in Mumbai University to work on film studies paper. Sir, it is always a pleasure to work with colleagues. Yes. So thank you so much, and with your permission, Anita ma'am, thank you for being the main organizer today for the day.
My pleasure, ma'am.
I'll just start with my screen share, and then let us try and connect with the research methodology as a topic. Just a minute. Do you have my screen?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Thank you, ma'am. So today's topic is actually somewhere in between when we start our research, and then we are almost totally lost with what to do with lot of content and lot of data and lot of information what we have collected. And review of literature and research is something which is usually it takes almost 2/3 time of the entire research procedure. Of course, I'm talking from the PhD thesis completion point of view, but in fact, the review of literature is also one of the stages where we all must have experienced. I'm sure those who are in the audience, those who have done some years of research and having some experience in writing even papers, this is somewhere we have a lot of fluidity in our kind of research. When I say fluidity, this is the stage where we come, we reach, and then our topic is changed, area changed, interest changes, sometimes the entire structure changes. So this is also one of the most important reasons that this phase should not go wrong. Ma'am, I am audible, my screen visible?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, very much visible, audible.
Good. So today's brief session is all about giving you the fundamentals that will enable you to develop your own communication style in your research FDP, research procedure. When you start with this fundamental stage, and when we are reviewing any literature, maybe after this session, you will also learn some really. Anita ma'am, if you can just mute some participants. I think by mistake they are.
Yes, done, ma'am. Done.
You have muted me also.
Sorry.
No problem. So you'll also learn some of the really simple techniques and tools that will enable you to develop your own review of literature technique. What is the objective of this session? To understand the importance of LR, to understand the challenges of writing a good LR, and also to learn how to collect data, information, and content in any research process. Now, scientific study of literature review involves mainly 4 elements in the entire structure. So first we will start with what is a review of literature, how to write the introduction, how to write the main body, how to write the conclusion of the LR, and if time permits, we will go ahead with some of the sample LRs in maybe 2 or 3 fields. Now, when we talk about the typical research process, very first problem or maybe the hurdle, it starts with selecting the research area. I would like to ask some of the freshers, those who are there in front of me in my audience today, how many of you have actually kind of trusted your guides or maybe your mentors and you are completely surrendered that, sir or ma'am, you tell us on what topic you want us to do and we will do that research? Do you agree that we do it at some point of time? That we don't have any idea? You can raise your hand in the chat box, you can write in the chat box. It happens. That we don't know, we are completely in blank. That happens with 2 reasons. I mean, both the extremes. Very first, we have not started reading anything about it. We have not started collecting any data. We have not yet analyzed our own likes, dislikes, aptitude, competence. So this stage is completely ignorance. And the other extreme comes when you have read so much, collected so much, and after doing that, again you come back to that completely blank stage where you actually don't know anything and then you surrender. Now, surrender comes in the form of going to the guide, going to the mentor, going to the instructor, supervisor, right? So this is the most important stage, and that is why we need to understand that what goes wrong usually and how to handle that if that thing goes wrong. So a typical research process usually comprises, it starts with selecting a research area, formulating research aim and objectives. Yesterday, we had 2 wonderful sessions about how to form research objective to research question to research hypothesis. Conducting the LR, selecting data collection methods, which we are going to have after this session. Dr. Bellur Bakshi is going to talk about data collection methods, collecting the primary data, secondary data, and then whatever is your requirement, analysis part of it, reaching to conclusion and writing the report. This is a rough outline of any research process. Now, this you see on your screen is called the mind map. On the 6th day, I guess, if I'm not wrong, or 5th day, we have a very wonderful session on how to use some of the digital tools in the entire process of research. So creating mind map comes easy with us with a lot of online free tools available. Now, literature review usually starts with understanding, categorizing, dividing whatever data you have collected and then putting it to maybe at least identifiable titles. So the same way, literature review, when we are talking about, so what is LR, where to place LR, what are the types of LR, why LR, various stages in LR, what is before LR and what is after LR. So this is a kind of a mind map we all can work with. So first question comes, what is a review of literature? Okay. This is usually what you see on the screen right now is usually the very first, standard dialogue comes from every guide, PhD guide, when a fresh researcher, context of fresh researcher approaches. Read more to learn more. So reading, especially when I'm talking about social science, humanities, and other areas of research, reading more sometimes is understood as learning more. Again, it is not completely true. Another standard dialogue comes from the research supervisor or the guide. They usually tell us, do not reinvent the wheel. What do we mean by that? That do not venture into something which is already said and done and completed. Because many a times what we do on the name of research is searching something which is already searched. So there are 2 very important, sentences. Usually almost every guide must have told this to the researchers at one point or the other, that read more to learn more. Do not reinvent the wheel. So now these are the two very important, red flags. That either if I don't go right in my literature review, either I am just reading, or I am just doing something, worthless, which is already done, and I am just spending my time, energy, money, everything on something which is not of any use. So ideally, before starting your research, ask these basic questions to yourself. The question I wish to answer are worthy of research. Very, very important point. Many times we just, and especially this applies to the fresh researchers, those who progress into research. The progression is natural. That means from masters to maybe MPhil to PhD, or just masters and PhD coursework and directly venturing into writing the thesis. And those are some of the kind of researchers who are sometimes in that completely idealistic phase, where I like some writer, I like some area, I do want to work into some area which no one has touched upon. So very idealistic kind of thoughts are there. But many a times it is observed that what I want to research is not even a worthy of research area. Why it is not worthy, we are going to discuss it further. Question number 1 I wish to answer is the question, the objective, is my research topic actually worthy of research? Number 2, do I know my stuff sufficiently? Now that my stuff is something which I have decided to work on. Now with here, I can, generalize this point of my stuff is something like my area, my PG area, my master's area, or my MPhil area, or at least my, postgraduate, kind of studies. If you don't know that well and you directly venture into research, maybe a kind of red flag is there, and then you might fall into some trouble. Question number 2 is always, do I know my area well? Then only I can go ahead with the research. If I am not very competent in my area, advisable not to go ahead with the research. Next question. The methodology I chose is the best doable way of getting the answers to the question. This is where most of us, fresher researcher or a seasoned researcher, experienced researcher, we all get stuck here, because there is no one method to go ahead with any kind of research. So even after putting everything together, that one question still keep bugging the researcher in the mind, that the methodology I chose, is this the right way to do it, or is there any other method to do this research? 3 questions. If you can answer more or less, if you can narrow down the answers, maybe you are ready to go for the research. Is my voice audible, screen visible?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, thank you. So when I say working with literature, now literature is a very tricky word here. This has nothing to do with language literature. Literature, we are generalizing with all the kind of books and journals and reference material and any data which we are touching upon to complete our research, irrespective of the humanities, social sciences, engineering, pure sciences, or any other field. So literature is a word we use to define the kind of content we have collected or we are dealing with. 4 challenges whenever we are dealing with literature. First challenge is to find it. Second is to manage it. Third is to use it. And fourth is to review it. Now, when we say literature review, the review comes at the very, final stage. Before that, very first challenge is from where to find it. Now, to find it, you should know the literature type. Using the available resources, honing your search skills. Now, today's world, today's fresh researchers, those who are millennials, are actually lucky to be born into that digitally, competent world. So as we have heard about 2 different, kind of demographics, one who is born with a digital skill and the other one who has acquired digital skill. People of my generation, we all have acquired digital skill. People of, millennials, those who are there as a fresh researcher today, they are born with the digital skill. There are two cliched words also about it, natives and migrants. So for today's people, one on the click of a mouse, you have the entire world opening up in the form of your screen. What to do with that? Because internet, web is a kind of a monster. If you don't control it, it will control you. What I mean by saying that, if you know how to go for the guided surfing, guided finding, then you actually end up finding something really substantial. Otherwise, we all must have experienced this. We keep on clicking on hyperlink one after the other, and then we are lost. We never realize from where we have started and what actually are we searching for. So challenge number one is to find literature. After finding, challenge number two is the manage. How to manage? Most of us are working on laptops, maybe different folders we have prepared, or maybe sometimes we are also using some of the physical folders and files to keep our photocopies of the actual books. Managing review, managing literature is also about reading efficiently, keeping track of your references, and writing relevant annotations. Now, all these three words require specific understanding, which we are going to deal with at the end of the session. After managing, how to use it? Choosing your research topic. Most of the time, what we do, almost we all have done that. We start with a very generic term, start collecting almost all the content on that. We try manage it by narrowing it down. And finally, when it comes to the use of it, almost 25 to 30% of the total content, what we have collected, it is only used in the final work. Other things are not, we don't call it discarded, but we don't use it. So direct, indirect form, they are not being used in the actual thesis or actual research. Now question comes that do we have any shortcut where we only deal with this 25-30% what we need and we do not have to collect the 100%? I'm sorry to say there is no shortcut available at all in this field. When you cover 100% content, when you collect it, try narrow it down. Even if 20 to 25% is usable, you are a good researcher. That means you know how to use it. So to use it, choose your research topic. Now, this is the time when we have to narrow it down, that what exactly I want to do with it. Developing your question. After choosing your area, next comes, see, participants, if you are just looking at it, we are narrowing down, finding the entire web or the entire book or the entire library, managing, using. Now, the way you look at it here on the use, we are further narrowing it down. So choosing your topic, developing your question, arguing your rationale, and finally designing your method. If you can do it efficiently, then your review will be possible. Review will be almost significant. If you go wrong in any of this, there are some chances that you have to come back to your collection of the content, collection of the literature. Let me just give you a very small example here. In the humanities, social sciences, or maybe it is touching upon some of the core areas here. So during the COVID lockdown time, many of us we have shifted to online vegetable shopping, and there were many apps used by many of us to order this online shopping. Now, after the lockdown is over, we are almost back to the normal, way of the world. Today, many of them have permanently switched over to that vegetable buying or vegetable and fruit buying apps. Now, if the researcher wants to know that how many of them were using it and how many of them are still retaining on that, this is about little bit touching upon the consumer behavior area. I don't come from marketing and management, but still I would wanted to use this example because of the importance of review. So a little bit about consumer behavior and marketing. So this is where I want to find out as a researcher that how many of them are still there and how many apps are still in the market doing substantial business. Now, if you think that the data is available online, Unless and until you are actually choosing your research topic, you will end up dealing with only the lockdown collection of the area, and you will not be able to go further into what has happened after lockdown. If you don't argue your rationale properly, you will not be able to go for your hypothesis. If you don't go for your designing method or designing research design, you will not be able to go for the data collection. Very small example, but it is still very important for all of us to know that narrowing down is very important. And one more important thing I would like to say. Research is a very, very systematic and integrated project or integrated work. What I mean by
नेक्स्ट
anyone asking anything?
पूरा आंसर हो गया, पूरा आंसर बोला मैंने. हाँ तो उसके बाद आना आगे करना.
Anita ma'am, I think someone is talking. Should I continue?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. So my point was that research is a very, very integrated process. What do I mean by integrated? All the elements of research, they are interconnected. And then that is self-verifiable. That means if you go wrong in step number 1, somewhere in step 2, 3, or 4, you will find that mismatch, and automatically your step 1 will not get verified with your step 5. How does this happen? Let us just look at it. That means a literature review is a process also and is a product also. Why do I call it a process? I call it a process because literature review is an ongoing thing which is a part of any research paper, scientific research writing, or any thesis. But when it becomes a product, how it becomes a product? Those who are into kind of evaluating PhD thesis, or if you go on Shodh Ganga or Shodh Gangotri, of course, you know about 2 repositories of the UGC in Flipnet, where almost all the Indian universities, they are uploading the successful PhD thesis. Now, if I try and find one PhD thesis, where do I look for the kind of importance, the kind of quality of the entire research thesis? Many seasoned referees, when I say referees, they are the evaluator of the PhD thesis. That means we go for 2 or 3 reports, external referee, what we call. Seasoned referee will always pick up the thesis and go directly to the literature review. And if the literature review is strong enough, convincing enough, that means you don't have to actually look much into the before and after part of the thesis. Why is this so important? Because literature review is something which provides a complete kind of a blueprint of your research thesis. How it works. Let us just go ahead with that. When we say review, what do we do in that? I mean, literature, actually the word literature, quote unquote, what is that? They are about the books, scholarly articles, any other resource or sources relevant to a particular issue, which is providing us description, summary, critical evaluation, or any other form of data and content. Why do we need LR? An overview of sources you have explored while researching a particular topic. Now, many a times we have seen that when we are reading something and when we try and Google it, which is not a very good way to find your data, but nowadays Google itself is a verb now. It has become a verb from noun. So when you Google something and what comes in front of us, maybe 2,000, 5,000, 50,000, 1 million sites. Are we going to look into all these 5,000 links which are coming in front of us? Question number 1. To demonstrate your readers how you researcher fitting the larger field of this study. If you Google something, again, I'm using a wrong word here. Googling is not a kind of a data we all collect, but still I'm using some of the colloquial words usually we do. Because at the end of the talk, I'm also going to tell you from where to get the research worthy content. Okay. So what exactly is our definition? LR is a list of all the sources you have used while writing something. It can be everything: books, website links, journals, literary, or any source of information. Now, there are three words I want you to ask those who are actually, in the research. What are these three words? The first word is literature review. Second word is bibliography. Third word is called the references. Fourth is the work cited. Now tell me, what is the difference in, are they all different? Anyone? Any participant? Is bibliography different from work cited? Is work cited different from referencing? Is reference list different from any other list? What is the change? What is the difference? Okay, let me tell you something. Another question. If you cannot answer, it's okay, but at least this is just to make you think. Another question. For this particular topic, which I have told you right now, that I want to research on the mobile apps for buying vegetables. I would like to continue with this example. Now tell me something. If I have used maybe 15 different articles, digital marketing, right from digital marketing to any other, apps and everything. Out of that, I have used only 2 articles in writing my research. Do you think that the other 13 I will not mention anywhere in my research? No. This is precisely the difference between your bibliography or referencing and your works cited. Bibliography, which comes at the end of the research, includes these 13 items which you have referred to, which you have gone through, and which you have decided not to include in the main research after reading it. That means after the review, it was your decision as a researcher not to include the content, but that review has helped to understand what to add in the content. I'm sure it is like very easy to understand that 15 articles I have studied, only two or three are going into the main, work cited. So I will put the citations, but other 13, more importantly, it has served any purpose for me because the other 13 has actually told me that this is something which is already done in the area. So I am working something which is not done in here. So nothing can be discarded. Whatever you use, please remember to add everything at the end of the research under the bibliography. So this is something which we have to understand, that it can be everything and anything: books, website links, journals, or any other source. We are going to understand types of data further in our further slides. What are the contexts? Usually when we are looking at the articles, what are the contexts we are using? Standalone article, introduction of any research paper, introduction to a research prospectus, early chapter, maybe in a thesis or a doctoral dissertation. Please note the last line written on your screen with red bold. Literature review evaluates the literature. It does not simply summarize. So the evaluation of literature is provided you read it, you decide to use it or not to use it. This is the first evaluation. How to use it? Second evaluation. Either you are paraphrasing or putting the direct quote. Third evaluation. You are comparing it with any other. Fourth evaluation. LR evaluates. LR does not just summarize.
Ma'am, sorry to interrupt you. There is one question. Should I ask in the between, or we can take it later on?
I think, ma'am, we
Please.
continue with the talk and then later on all the questions.
Okay, fine.
Because then maybe the question will be answered in the following slides.
Okay.
Yeah. So how to use literature review, why to use, and how does it help? It will clarify the conceptual issues. It will help you to learn about your RD, research design. It's an opportunity to persuade your examiner that your research is relevant and worth doing. it will give you the insight to contribute something new in your subject area. Now, yesterday also we heard this word research gap. Now, what do we mean by research gap? Research gap is actually the place where you have to identify the place that is your research, your contribution. And unless you are able to find the space, that gap, I think your research is not worthwhile. So many of the topics are sent back. If you know that many of the supervisors, PhD guides are not happy with the topic, they ask you to do something different. Why? Because your LR is not actually justifying your research topic. Why it is not justifying? Here is the answer, that literature review is actually putting things together. This much is done, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is what I think, that is my hypothesis. Now this work is not done even after doing this much, kind of reading. That is why I want to propose this as a topic, and I want your permission to go ahead with the research. This is precisely why I told you that a seasoned referee will always pick that literature review from the entire thesis. If you are convinced enough from the LR that these many works have done and still your question is not answered, that gives you full permission and liberty to go and search for the answers. And that precisely becomes your research. So why LR? Reason number 1. Reference to prior literature is a defining feature of academic and research writing. Now, academic writing, what we are going to see it in the further, sessions. Reference to the prior literature. This is something very important for us to understand. You cannot just copy paste somebody else's idea and call it own. Of course, we know that now at this stage. But prior literature, that means reading out, serves you mainly 2 purposes. First, to know who has done what, and also to know that who has not done anything, so that this area is almost kind of empty. This area has that potential. This area is there for me to work. But in the process, you have to provide references to the prior literature, prior work, prior research, prior article, prior publication, prior book. And when we are going to look at this now with the digitization, we have got a lot of other, fine tuning available here. Those who are regularly using Google Scholar, you understand that when you open your Google Scholar and you search for some word, on your left hand side, Google is asking you specifically that last 5 years or last 10 years publication. Many of the universities have also made it now compulsory to use only last 10 years or maybe last 5 years publication in your LR. Why so? The question is, why so? So that you do not recycle the redundant material already said and published 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times. This is also one of the important reasons to keep a check on your LR. Sometimes the guides are very particular that from which year you are taking the references, because we all know as a researcher that as time particular fields and particular areas keep changing so drastically that the data becomes completely redundant, completely obsolete, out of context. So quoting those data, quoting those references doesn't serve any purpose here. So this is precisely why we have to go for prior literature. Depending on the subject, topic, area you are working on, your guide or your supervisor may ask you to go for last 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. Thankfully, Google is providing. Google Scholar is providing. Many other websites are also providing us that. To help develop your ideas, to establish the importance of a topic, to make sure you are not simply replicating research, to demonstrate knowledge, to show how your current work is situated within that context. Your work is built on that context, and it is different from the earlier publications. Reason number 2, to see what has and has not been investigated. As I told you that it is a very important thing for us to highlight research gap. Research gap is something which we all have to very, very convincingly go ahead. If I have my doubt in my research gap, I will not be able to continue with my data collection. Because back of my mind, I will always think that someone already has worked upon this area. So to see what has and has not been investigated, this is reason number two, to identify data sources that other researchers have used. Finding a data source is a very structured training we all have received, and we are giving to our research scholars how to find the data, how to source the data, and from where to identify. Next point, to learn how others have defined and measured key concepts. This is a very interesting point. One topic, one area, 5 different researchers can take it up from 5 different perspectives. Now, the topic which I have given you in the beginning, a very small, research area where apps are still being used to order things in the households. Now, this one behavior, consumer behavior, someone will take it from the engineering point of view, maybe software point of view. Others will take it up from the gender behavior point of view. Third person may take it the entire issue from the finance point of view, that how this, discounts and things are changing. That means it is always interesting to learn how others have defined and measured the key concepts. And the fourth one, to develop alternative research projects. This is very, very serious thing, because many a times our students are not ready to alter. Our students are not ready to negotiate with whatever is actually advisable. They are sometimes jabardasti fitting the topic and content into the final title. Absolutely risky if you are a fresh researcher. Be open about making some alterations, some changes, some modifications in your process. Why? Because in any point of time during your research journey, you will realize that, oh, this part is done. Oh, she has or he has already talked about it. This is a very dynamic thing, and we have to accept at that point, okay, I put a full stop, I change my way. So maybe something different. Please remember, research is a very dynamic process. It is a very fluid process till the time you put your final report. Then it has to match. Reason number 3, to put your work in perspective, to contribute to the field of moving research. Of course, we have seen that how to justify your research gap. This is precisely our own position, everyone's position, when we start day 1 of writing something or putting something together. From where to start? This also happens to most of us when we deal with lot of data. And this happens when we are finding open sources, open domains, say for example, Google. So we put one keyword and then we get almost 1 million websites or the links in front of us. So what is essential is just like maybe a tip of the iceberg, but what sounds interesting is a huge body of work. So filtering and sorting the essentials from the irrelevant requires a researcher's own discretion. And that is why a researcher has to be very, very focused on what is essential. Because if we don't identify that essential part of it, we all might get completely lost into the bigger body, which is not visible, but which is so tempting, which is so interesting. So what happens? I like that topic, I like this topic, but that topic has lesser reading, but this topic has more data. Frenzied state of affairs. I'm sure we all must have experienced this. So a researcher's discretion to only get the essential and to leave away or to move away from the interesting also is a very important thing, and literature review does that to all of us. Now, as I was telling you about the research process, if we all can start with this research idea, I think my cursor is there in front of you. So research idea, usually we start with research idea to start with the research process. Immediately comes LR. After LR, theoretical formulation of research problem. Then the empirical research question, questionnaires and operationalization. Then comes into picture the RD, that is the planning. Then comes data collection, data analysis. If you have empirical questions, then answering the empirical question in the form of raw data. Theoretical interpretation of the results for both empirical and the qualitative ones. And comparison with the earlier research. Now, this is another very tricky phase. When after doing this, you analyze and you compare with some of the earlier data, you will realize that you have not done anything great because this is already said and done and completed. So what? We are again back to the cycle. If this cycle breaks at any point, we all have to be ready as a researcher to go directly into the research idea, go for the fresh literature review. This is another way of looking at it. Literature review, writing background, it is completely expanding or exploring the new topics. Now we are talking about the types of literature review. Let us just try and understand how do we start. Let us just say, for example, that I have almost 50 articles collected with me. I have almost 25 to 30 book chapters also with me. Now, how do I go about writing it? So major types of LR. As you can see this, types of LR, again, they are all interconnected. For example, when you are dealing with a part of a larger work, introduction to a journal article or thesis dissertation. When you are dealing with the standalone work, that means independently published article, usually we go for the course assessment or the review of the article. Now, someone already has reviewed that article also becomes a very important part of your literature review. So there are 4 ways to go about it. Introduction to a journal article, thesis dissertation, review article, or course assessment. How to decide? Let us just understand. Am I audible clearly?
Yes, madam.
Yes. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. So
Yes,
these are the types of LR. And let me tell you very clearly that this is the most confusing part and the most challenging part for a fresh researcher because you are ready with a lot of data. Lot of things are there. सिस्टमैटिक में जाना है कि नैरेटिव में जाना है, कंसेप्चुअल करना है या रेपीट करना है, स्कोपिंग करना है या क्रिटिकल जाना है, एक्सपर्ट करना है, स्टेट ऑफ आर्ट करना है. If you and your guide are not on the same page, this thing becomes really tricky. But at the same time, if you learn what is the difference between this and that, things become really interesting because fortunately, LR, now it is open to so many types of LR. So in one thesis or maybe in one research, you can also go for multiple types of LR. How is this happening? We will discuss it in the further slides. Usually when we talk about the social science and humanities research, we basically depend on argumentative review, integrative review, historical review, methodological review, systematic, or maybe theoretical review. Theoretical review refers to sometimes more about the pure science reviews, but more or less we stick to these 5 or 4 important types of reviews. Now, what do we mean by the argumentative review, historical, and methodological? Let me give you one simple example here. Argumentative review is also about, it's also sometimes called compare and contrast review. What do we mean by that? So Mr. X has said this, but Mr. Y has said that. 2 arguments put up by 2 different researchers. We are just summarizing them here. It is not our argument. Please remember, we are not arguing against them. We are just paraphrasing. But to do that also, we need to identify that who is talking in favor of the topic, who is talking against the topic, and we have to put them together. Very interesting reading it makes when we go ahead with the argumentative review. Historical review, for example, chronologically, maybe region-wise, maybe continent, maybe time period. So historical review is available in the form of articles published between say 80 to 90, 19 and 2000, 2001 to 10. So one decade, we are putting it chronologically. This becomes one historical review. Another historical review also becomes in a way that that was the theory, then this theory has come, then this theory has come. For example, when you're looking at the area of higher education, policy changes, for example, we have had almost 3 to 4 important educational, commissions and who has actually framed our policies and all. So historical review to write about that, maybe start with somewhere like Kothari Commission, which came in 60s, 70s. Then after that, Ambani Birla Commission, which came in 90s. Then after that, new commission. Then we come to new education policy. So historical is not only about the date. Historical is also about some of the important landmark things which are happening. Audible, visible, clear?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So we are not going ahead into almost all the types, but still some of the important types we can discuss here, traditional or narrative. So here we are just putting one after the other. Critique and summarizes the body of literature, draws conclusion about the topic. Very simple, traditional or narrative literature. There is no system here. But ideally, this is not a good way to go ahead with LR. Because when you are spending so much time, you have to put your LR in some or the other perspective. But if you do this also, that is also correct. I mean, it doesn't go wrong. Of course, it doesn't become that much interesting, but it doesn't go wrong. This is also one simple, easy way to start. Systematic LR, it is little bit rigorous and well defined. It is more comprehensive. Published and unpublished studies also we look into this. So systematic LR, you can identify some system in that. This is about the theories, this is about the continent, this is about the topic. And this system, the researcher himself will decide. Argumentative, I have already given you some examples. Integrative review. What do we mean by that? This is a kind of a synthesis which is done in a way that when you research work, it is not having sufficient primary data, you can take help of the secondary data and already available information also. I'll discuss this again at the time of data collection, how to collect the data. Most of the qualitative reviews, when we qualitative researches, when we are targeting, we usually knowingly, unknowingly fall into this integrative review of research. Historical, I have already given you some examples. Methodological focuses on the different methods. And this is again, it varies from subject to subject, area to area. Theoretical review, evaluating the established theories, pros and cons of the theory, why this theory was successful, what was not there, so the new theory has come. So this is basically like a typical method where only the theories are being considered to review. Okay. So questions to ask about your LR. Do I have a specific thesis problem or a research question which my LR helps to define? What type of LR I have to do and what is the scope of my LR? Now, if you answer these 3 questions, I think more or less you'll be able to start writing your LR. Now, what are the important steps? Yes, this is very important for all of us, especially those who are involved in the PhD or any other thesis writing. Clarify with your supervisor, instructor, roughly how many sources should you include? What type of sources should you include? Books, journals, articles, or websites? Should you summarize, synthesize, or critique your source? Should you evaluate your sources or just summarizing? Should you provide subheading or the other background information? If it is not a part of if it is not the part of the data, we need to clarify our stand with our supervisor. As I told you, organizing the sources into review, very easy way is chronological. Maybe by publication also you can do it. And ideally for a standalone article, we advise to go for by the publication. What do we mean by the publication? Primary sources, secondary sources, or books, articles, web resources, videos, any other digital resources. So that means we are categorizing the publication. When we are writing journal papers, ideally we do that. Most of the time, we don't mix and match all the sources. We put books separately, then articles separately, then the web links, then the videos, if at all it is used, or any other content. So now, little bit of mind mapping after getting the data. So when I do this kind of mind mapping, how to put this, how to go for the mind mapping, different apps and all are there. We have a session, very important session coming up for all of us. So after doing this entire, structuring and everything, now this is mind mapping required, that what will go in my topic 1, subtopic 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So here you can see that we can put the keywords in the boxes. More or less, this will be a kind of a blueprint to write our entire thesis. So how to go about your topic? Choose your topic, identify database, search and refine, read and analyze, write the review. If it is not matching with it, again go back to the first one, that is choose your topic. Now this is something we all need to understand, especially fresh researchers, those who have started having introduction to research methodology in the MA class or maybe MPhil or PhD coursework. Ideally, your hypothesis should be at the bottom of this pyramid, and your introduction, scope, and structure should be here in the larger part, that is the base of the pyramid. We always go from general to specific. We always go from topic background to supporting studies. And if your research is following this structure, you are on a right track. So those who are in the middle of the research, try and put your content here, with the background having the biggest base, narrower categories. Then finally, hypothesis statement is almost like a tip of your pyramid. This is the lit review. Now, another theory is called inverted pyramid theory. What do we do in that? From generality to specificity. This is inverted pyramid, developing plan to address the gap. So here, the way you go ahead with finding the research gap, general topic, how it has been broadly conceptualized, identify importance of subtopics, then you start putting the gaps, you start developing a plan to address that gap, and then you put it together. Inverted pyramid becomes the end part of your literature review. Regular pyramid becomes the beginning of your literature review. Okay. Now, from where to find the topics? Very important, but then no one can guide you in that. There are some sites, websites. We are going to talk about it. Let us just start with this. As I told you already, Google is not your good friend when it comes to finding the research data or doing the research work. Why do I say Google is not a good friend? Because we have some of the very good research-oriented websites where you will find the content which are researched by others from prominent researchers, and the content will be put in a completely structured research way. That means these are the websites which are actually giving you some of the already published books and articles and thesis, and sometimes just maybe the preprint or the books. One such website is called Academia, other one is called the ResearchGate. We don't have much time, but still our resource person, when we have that open access digital resources, you are going to see everything as a hands-on practice. Google Scholar should be our biggest friend. Why I tell you? Because when you talk about the citations, and many a times now, as the government, Department of Higher Education, policymakers, UGC, MHRD, everyone is becoming very, very conscious about the quality. There is something called the H index or the citation score. Those who are aware about the NAC procedure or NIRF or any other, even the recruitment procedure, you will find that the citation becomes a kind of an identity of the researcher. Now, please let me put it very straight that citation it was never a part of our Indian higher education system, also almost for maybe 5 to 10 years back. Why I say that? Generating citation is a completely digital phenomenon, digital mechanism. Citation is recorded, citation is counted completely in a digital format. And as I told you, many of the senior professors, senior academicians, those who have not put the research work mainly during the digital, that means people like us from our generation, we were completely relying on the books. N number of books and articles and magazines and newspapers, they used to be our sources. And it was very difficult, even though we put the referencing at the end of it, citation generation was difficult. But today the scene is very different. Many of the higher authorities are asking, checking your citation. More the citation, the better is considered as the research quotient of the person or the institution. And to consider the citation, Google Scholar citations are considered as the standard citation. Many other websites are also giving you different kind of citations. Of course, I'm not saying that they are good or bad, but it is not counted. Just like many of you who are publishing papers, your impact factor is not counted if it is not through the Thomson router. Similar way, we see that change now coming in the higher education sector, that citations are only from the Google Scholar, not from any other website. So this is one other important aspect for all of us to continue. How to choose a topic? We have already discussed. Point number 2 is your research plan. To create a research plan, this is not like writing a paper where you might need 5 articles, 2 books, and perhaps a website resource. You will need to do a lot of research for this assignment. So create a list of different keywords, write up a paragraph about your topic and pull keywords from it. I have mentioned some of the important websites here at the end of this slide. So EBSCOhost, Google Scholar, Enlist, ProQuest, JSTOR, ResearchGate, Academia. Now, I would like to talk about this Enlist here. Enlist is a kind of a treasure for us researcher. It is a website. It is not a website. In fact, it's a repository of all the available standard research, kind of content material. And this is given to us by InflibNet. InflibNet is again a government agency, one of the agencies of the UGC and NAC also. Enlist is subscribed by the library of the institutions, both private and public universities, colleges. We get our own individual Enlist login ID and password. Why do we go for Enlist? Enlist is having the biggest repository of research articles in the world. And that is one of the reasons why Enlist is so very popular amongst many good university researchers. So if you are not aware about it, please approach your librarian. And librarian as a resource center, now we call it a resource center. That person, that officer will help you to get your login ID password for the Enlist. Review part of it. This is the part where you read, review, and write your first draft. Now, it doesn't go as smoothly as I'm reading it right now. One article, you get it from Google Scholar, you read it, and then you have to start writing. Now, maybe just one paragraph is needed. We cannot write more than one paragraph. We call it paraphrasing. What is paraphrasing? Write some information in your own words with due credit or citation or the reference given for the writer whom you are referring to. So the review process starts with you writing your very first chapter or very first, paragraph. Next comes is the track. You'll be keeping a track of a lot of different citations. Now, this is something which I would like to share, that we also have a session coming up with Zotero and maybe Mendeley, two very important, citation generators, and we need to understand how it functions. Please remember, the digital world has given us a lot of support tools to go for the kind of systematic structured research. And it is always advisable to learn about all these tools to make our research lives easier. So first one is here, Zotero referencing, how it works. I am not going to talk about it. I'm just mentioning everything here so that at least you know that these are the digital tools available to all of us and we need to know how to use it. Next point, very important. We have been talking about the word literature, but what are the types of literature? That means the data. So we can identify this in the primary, secondary, and the tertiary data. Now, as you can see here on the screen, what do we call the primary data? Reports, thesis, emails, also official conference reports, government publications, unpublished manuscripts. Secondary data, newspaper, books, journals, internet. Tertiary data is about the indexes, encyclopedia, dictionaries, bibliographies, or citation indexes. Now, as you see this, there are also some of the overlapping things happening here. How to understand that? Now, from where to source, that means from where to find the data. Main sources from where the literature can be searched are this: magazine, electronic databases, books, journals, conference papers, thesis, encyclopedia, or some of the available ready research reports. Now, major sources of lit review, when we are reviewing literature, we need to be very clear to include major works as well as the minor works. Now, what do we call the minor and the major? Let us understand very quickly the types of data. I'm saying quickly because we have a session immediately after this where the data structuring will be very clear. Primary is used broadly to embody all sources that are original. Now, to put it in other words, primary data is something which we don't have, but we need it. If I go back to my example, I don't have how many households have actually retained the habit of buying online vegetables. To do that, I have to go to the specimen, to the data. How to do that? To make the right questionnaire, which we are going to look at it in the next session. So primary sources are the one, or the primary data is the one which we don't have, but we need it in our research and we need to go out and collect it. How do we collect primary data? Direct observation, telephone interview, online survey, face-to-face interview, focus group, or maybe the test marketing. Test marketing and everything we have been doing, but sometimes we don't know that we are a part of the data collection. Now in the WhatsApp groups, many times we get many Google forms that I'm a research scholar, I'm doing this research, please fill the form and I need this data. This is precisely a kind of a primary data collection. This is what we have been doing, or sometimes we become the data. So this is about the primary sources. What do we mean by the secondary data? Secondary data is something which is available somewhere ready-made. We have to collect it, but we cannot use it directly. We have to use it very judiciously, the way we want it. Internal secondary or external secondary. Internal secondary, maybe it's in your organization, in your company, which is ready to use, or maybe sometimes it requires further processing. External data, published material of your company or your organization, computerized databases, or maybe some proper syndicated services. I am not touching upon this area because we have a good, long talk about it. Tertiary data, very important part. If you look at this, primary sources, secondary sources, and tertiary sources level away from original. So when you say tertiary, that is the mostly ready-made collected data. You need to go from tertiary to primary to do that research. Tertiary ready-made available. Secondary almost kind of a processed, or we can process the data, but primary is something we need to research. So if you look at both the arrows on the screen, level away from original source, primary is the most original, Tertiary is the least original. To get the tertiary, you don't have to do any research. To get the primary, you would have to do the maximum research. Now, difference in primary and secondary, we have already seen that. Okay. So this is something which we need to have a very quick look at this. Primary is self-conducted, often necessary, and can require a budget. Now, sometimes we go for research process, research report, or maybe research project, and then we have to put some budget to collect the primary data. Secondary, already conducted by others, typically, available at a cheap cost. We don't have to work very hard to do that. But the intersection of these provide info that specifically answers the research question. So somewhere in between these two, you may also find your research gap. So primary and secondary, again, another classification here. Not going very deep into this, but still. Now, depending on the subject or the area of research, for the art, primary is original artwork. For history, any diary from immigrant can become a primary source. For the political science, any treaty, any document becomes political document, becomes a part of the primary source. For theater, actual performance or a video becomes a part of the primary source. This I am putting just to make you understand that there is no limitation on the type of a source we have been using. Primary source, can be a map, chart, photograph, diagrams, newspaper, diary entries. It can be anything depending on the topic which you are working on. Audible, visible clearly, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, very much visible and audible.
I am skipping some part because I want to talk about something really important in maybe last 10-15 minutes. Now, coming to something that if I keep collecting all this data and I don't cite, what happens? So what is a citation? Citation is a very important part of your literature review. Please remember, if you don't know how to cite, you will not be able to write your literature review. It goes hand in hand. To review a literature and to cite the literature, it cannot exist. I mean, both of them cannot exist in isolation. Citation or citing means including selected information about a book or article you read on a topic and use it in your paper. It is required when you are quoting, paraphrasing, or using the ideas, maybe photo, video, or any artwork of others. This is the general understanding of the word citation. Another question. What if we don't cite? That is called plagiarism. It is against the academic integrity. Then comes the question, what is plagiarism? Using other person's words, ideas, results, or images without giving appropriate credit to a person. So you give the impression that this is your own work. This is academic dishonesty. Many times it happens unknowingly also. Let me just give you some really interesting anecdote here. That India has started getting online resources, maybe the Google and other websites and everything, as late as maybe 2002, 2003. And it was easily available. The data became little bit affordable only as late as 2005, 6, and 7. But that was the time. So between 2005 and 2010, or maybe 2001 and 2010, the kind of ease to operate. So those who were functioning on Google Documents or maybe MS Microsoft Word and all, copy paste was very easy. And that time nobody has actually uttered the word plagiarism. And then we have actually seen that the period of maybe 7 to 8 years, a lot of copy cases, what we call today, unethical practices, they have come into existence. Mostly not with the intention to copy, mostly just, because of the ignorance about what will happen if I copy paste from something, because it was very tempting to find something online, copy it and paste it in my document and make nice article. So it was not intentional. Let me put it also very clear. It was not intentional, but still we were not aware. And that has given rise to a lot of awareness, programs about the academic integrity, academic honesty, importance of knowing about plagiarism, and the ultimate importance of citation. Citation is a tag you put at the end of a piece of information you borrowed from other sources, even if the information you used is a paraphrase. Paraphrase as in, you read my article and you write it in your own words, but still you are using the information written by me. In that case, you still must include a citation at the end of the sentence, end of the paragraph. Please note, all the citations within the research paper, usually we call it the running citation also sometimes, or in text citation also, will be again put at the end of the works cited pages. So what do you call a referencing? Standardized method of acknowledging the sources of information, that is called referencing. It goes for both published and unpublished work. Going little fast because I want to actually explain this referencing part of it. It is a standard method of acknowledging your source or information. So here, it enables the reader to find the source of the document. There are two types of referencing, in text and at the end of the paper, which usually we call work cited or reference list, or in case of thesis, it goes into bibliography. Now, many a times we don't know how to put the citation or how to write the reference. We all must have heard about some different styles of citations. This is what is called popular citation styles. MLA, APA, Chicago, IEEE, CSE, Vancouver. These are some of the important citation styles. MLA, Modern Language Association. Currently, the 9th edition is in process. So usually when you fall into the humanities and some of the social sciences, we actually have to follow the MLA citation. APA is used by education, psychology, linguistic, business or economics or management. Chicago style referencing is used mainly by these areas. IEEE mainly for the engineering sector and IT sector. CSE is usually used for the pure sciences. But there is no hard and fast rule for this. Every journal, they have their own decided citation styles. Every university, they have their own standardized citation style as per the department. It is always better to follow either the department instructions if you are a scholar, and either you or to follow the journal instructions. Most of the good journals are asking you to follow some particular style. Now, this is how you will find in the Google Scholar website. So what is the difference? Very quickly, as you can see, same article, if you are citing in the style of MLA, here you will put the publication year at the end in the bracket. APA style, publication year in the bracket comes in the middle. Chicago style, again, the names are little differently put, but the publication style comes at the end of it. Harvard style, little bit difference here and there. They don't put the publication style. Of course, I'm just giving you some common factors. Vancouver style, putting differently the page number and the other details. But you know what? We were little unlucky people in our generation that we had to learn all these things by heart. You have citation generators ready, available, applications. Go to Google Scholar, click on something, one article, and you will find at least 5 to 6 different citation styles. You just copy and then use it. Isn't it very easy to use it? But do cite. So what is again the difference between bibliography and works cited? Bibliography is an alphabetical list at the end of your paper or thesis of all of the sources. I'm stressing supremely on the word all of the stresses. That means, if you remember my third slide, I told you that I have read 20 articles, but I'm using only 3. What happens to the 13? Those 13 will Those 17, sorry, will come here in the bibliography. 3 will be in the works cited. So 17 which I have not used, it is not discarded. Whatever I have read will come in the bibliography, even if it is not directly used in my actual work. And the 3 which I have used, I am using in the works cited page. This is how the bibliography looks like. I am sure you all must have heard about or at least seen that. Referencing software, EndNote, Reference Manager, Mendeley, and Zotero, very, very important. And now those who are little bit, tech savvy people, you can actually use it as an extension in your Microsoft Word or the Outlook, and it will do automatic, it will help you automatic reference generation. So all these, softwares or the digital tools are nothing but to make you realize that there is a system, and irrespective of which part of the world or which subject you are doing, research is a systematic process. APA, Chicago, and MLA for journal articles. These are the examples. Again, we have seen it. Again, in each citation style or referencing style, how to cite or how to put the reference for an article is different. Print article different, review article different, books different, web documents different. Very, very systematic guide. We just have to systematically, honestly follow that. Another important thing, where to use the footnote and the endnote. All these things become a part of your literature review, and you have to learn about all this, extension part of it if you want to create a complete foolproof literature review. Both are additional notes, footnote and endnote. And nowadays, after 2007 maybe or 2003 also, Microsoft Word is giving us ready-made footnote and endnote. We just need to know how to insert, and 1, 2, 3, 4 page numbers will be followed. You are going to get the hands-on practices on all these things in our session on digital tools. How do we use the in-text citation? Say, for example, here you are using the word here. In-text citation will be used just by putting the name of the writer with 1 single comma and the publication year. But again, in-text citation styles will vary from person to person, styling to styling. So how to start the first draft and all, of course, that also will be a part of your LR, depending on which methodology we all have been choosing. So locate major informative works, ascertain key research working on the topic. Sometimes it is just enough to talk about 5 major researchers, those who have worked on this area extensively. That also makes your work or makes your research body complete, because these 5 are the stalwarts in the area. Find main ideas and inclusions, establish similarities, notice main methodologies, identify gaps in the existing research, show relationship between previous and the existing, provide context for your own research. The moment you are able to convincingly, go ahead by putting your topic with a complete, conviction that, okay, this is what is the work done, this is what is the work not done, and this is my research gap, but that will come at the end of your literature review. So these are the steps which we have already seen, depending on the type of method which we all have been using. Not going deep into this. How to use referencing online and offline. Of course, lot of things are happening. Important online databases. It requires one full session on this, but still just touching upon the areas. Scopus, one of the most important, database for all of us to follow. It looks like this. Web of Science, Publon, another very important, web of knowledge also it is called. Second big bibliographic database of the researchers. Web of Science looks like this. PubMed, very important for the areas of medicine and biological sciences. European database, very important, repository. ERIC also is education resources information system, European database, very important for almost all the subjects. Now, how to search on the internet? we are going to talk about it in lot of detail when we are going to go for. So write well, organize well. Skipping all this part because we have already discussed all this. So quick look, but still, thank you so much. I think I have completed in my stipulated time. And if any questions are there, would like to take some questions also.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Wonderful presentation.
Thank you.
Very, very elaborate, informative, and lively session, ma'am. Absolutely step-by-step discussion. And that makes it easy for the new researchers to
Yes,
understand. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your session. There are few questions.
Hmm.
Sir, is it okay if I go for it, Avinash sir? Or would you like to go for it for some questions? Avinash sir?
Yes, ma'am. We would like to get some question for the participant, ma'am.
Yes.
Should I go for it, sir? Or are you reading it?
Or if the participant is ready to unmute, they can ask me, no problem.
Yeah, fine. That's good.
If they have any question, they may ask ma'am directly.
Atul Swathe sir, he is asking, can we include blogs in review of literature?
Yes, sir. Blogs are very important, provided it is a part of the standard blogging, because Blogspot is considered allowable, because Blogspot is actually going through a lot of scrutiny before you put the blog. So if the blog is a part of the Blogspot, then it is allowed. And in the creative writing, in fact, many of us have been using the blogs as a reference regularly.
Thank you, ma'am. And the next question is asked from Shreya, ma'am. And she is asking that should we mention the citation in review of literature? Can we use all types of review of literature while writing literature review? So there are two questions from Shreya, ma'am. Should we mention the citation in review of literature?
Yes, very much. Review of literature, for example, if you're writing for thesis or maybe research paper, for the research paper, you have reviewed around 10 to 15 articles. All the citations will go in the in-text citation. And then review of literature will look like a paragraph with the in-text citation. And that also will be added at the end of the paper. So citation is a must to include in the review of literature also. Usually we start the sentence when we do, paraphrasing. So and so, then we put in the text, or after we write about the entire article summary or paraphrasing, and then at the end of the paragraph we put the citation, but it is a must.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Rajeshri, ma'am, she's asking about, can it be a mix of literature review arguments mixed with historical? Can it be a mix of both?
Yes, sometimes some areas we do include two different types of reviews, but in that case, if you're clear about the type, it is always better to divide your review in two types. There is no harm in dividing the review in 2 or 3 or 4 parts. It is in fact advisable to put it as a systematic. So this part, these articles you are doing in the argumentative mode, then the other 10-15 articles you are doing in the historical mode. It is better to show your clarity in that. Yes, of course, it is in fact advisable.
Thank you, ma'am. And Dr. Devendra sir, question is already answered about the citation. I think so, Devendra sir. And Jolly Sonkar ma'am, she is asking about the newspaper are primary sources or secondary sources.
Thank you, ma'am.
Primary, of course, primary.
Newspapers. Primary sources. Primary.
That's all, ma'am. All the questions are there covered
Thank you
here.
so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Belur Bakshi sir is already there with us, and Avinash sir, may I request you to introduce him?
Yes, Ganesh Gawane sir is there. Ganesh sir, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. You may please start.
Okay. Thank you. First of all, I would like to thank Oza ma'am for delivering a wonderful speech. Now we have with us Dr. Belur Bakshi. I would like to introduce. Had completed his graduation in the year 1991 from Gujarat University. Dr. Bakshi sir is associated with GLS University since last 15 years and teaching various subjects like marketing management, advertising, consumer behavior, strategic management, and research. He had earned post-graduation in the area of banking and insurance. Doctor in the area of consumer behavior are branding, consumer behavior. He had delivered more than 15 expert sessions at various universities. 25 plus research publications are in his name and published in various national and international reviews. He also worked as a management consultant at Ahmedabad last 15 years. Dr. Bakshi is now. I would like to request Dr. Bakshi sir to begin with second session. Dr. Bakshi sir.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, sir, for your words. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, audible. Yes, sir, audible.
Thank you, ma'am. Last session was very nice with some technical aspect. Yes. Thank you. I'm going to talk about data.
Sir, are you on mute?
Now, can you hear me now?
Sir, now it is better.
Yes, sir, now we can hear you.
Okay. Fine. Today I will discuss some aspect of data collection and research design and sampling also. Basically speaking, can you answer me some question in chat box? Which type of data is difficult to collect, primary or secondary? Which data is more difficult to obtain, primary data or secondary data? Okay, Anupama ma'am says that secondary. So many people are saying about primary. Okay, there is mixed nature of answer is going on. Fine. So my simple point, what is secondary data? Let us understand its concept. Very simple, but very effective for every discipline in this case. Data which is already in the existence. Data which is already in the existence and we are reusing it is known as secondary data. Most important, data which is already in the existence. Say for example, if I would like to have a data relating to two-wheelers in Ahmedabad, can I get that data? Yes or no? Total number of two-wheelers in Ahmedabad. Can I get that data? Very easily from RTO. Fine. As the data available from RTO is useful for this purpose. But that doesn't mean that every data is easily available. Let me tell you, primary data is data to be obtained from respondent freshly with reference to your research work. That means for such particular research work which you carry out, you collect data from respondent. That is called primary data. Fine. Correct. Sir, I would like to know about reading habit of the people of Ahmedabad. You collect data from readers of Ahmedabad and you can start your work. Fine. But every time it is not possible. Believe me, there are several cases where secondary data is extremely difficult to obtain. What are the difficulties generally in secondary data? You can answer me by unmuting yourself. What type of difficulties generally people face in case of secondary data?
Sir, authenticity of the source.
Okay. Source is very later part. First of all, important is the source from where I will get data. That is the biggest issue. Say, for example, I would like to know total number of trains run by Western Railway in the state of Gujarat and revenue generated from that. And out of that, how many trains are express, how many are local, how many are Shatabdi, how many are like Tejas? Do you think that Railway Ministry will get data, give you data? क्या आप कह सकते हो कि रेलवे मिनिस्ट्री मुझे ये डेटा प्रोवाइड करेगी? No, absolutely not. You should have your own source of the data. Never, they never. And is it like that to get this data from the timetable of the railway? Those are the days where railway timetable has been used. Huh? Okay, fine. Let us understand something relating to this data collection. It's very mammoth task. Let me tell you. Secondary data is also mammoth task. In secondary data, there are several complexities, several aspects. Number one, as one person, gentleman says, that authenticity, reliability. So do you think that in case of primary data, there is no reliability issue? No, we have reliability issue in primary data, but we can have a statistical tool to check whether the data which has been collected is relevant or reliable or not. But in secondary data, question mark, source of the data. Anyway, we just try to go for this. Can you see the slide?
Yes, sir.
Fine. Let us start. Can we say that these are the following as the data? Report published in tabloid. Tabloid means afternoon newspaper. Tweet by a person or organization. Can we treat as a important data? A video of making bhaji pav at Honest. Can we consider as a data? Or even display at the Kirana store, different sachet of shampoo, hair oil. Can we consider as a data? Yes. All these are the data. All. And these all data are useful for the purpose of research work. Let us start. Now, this is a full of data of Indian economy. It is a snapshot. It is a data given by Government of India. And you all know Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. You know very well. So this data is very, very important. Can we see some of the data in the area of agriculture, industry, and service growth. Can we compare something in that case? What is the growth rate in services? 21-22, it is 8.2. In last year, 2021, it is minus. Industrial growth is also minus. Can you say me anything regarding this one? Why it is in minus? Any wild guess? You can unmute and answer as well as at chat box. Yes.
COVID effect?
COVID effect, but not entire COVID effect. COVID effect is there for 4 months, December, January, February, March. In that case, most important part is the how you analyze it. So COVID effect is not there in case of agriculture. Is it so? Is it not like that in agriculture? No, there will not be in agriculture. That is true. That is true. Why? Agriculture generally happen in which areas? Majority of rural? Yes or no? Fine. So in the rural area, the impact of COVID is significantly lower as compared to urban. Second, in agriculture, is it like that human distance should be maintained? It is always there. And that's why you cannot find out such deficit over here. And if you find deficit, then you can easily check out our prices of food. It might increase. See, the moral of the story is that when you are going to select, when you are going to obtain, when you are going to receive this secondary data, little bit careful. Check and balance needs to be used, because secondary data's biggest advantage is that it is available, and second, easily available. So question is definitely raised about authenticity, reliability. You are supposed to take into account so many aspects. Yes, agro products are essential. That's why government is allowing that activity. Indian statistics. What do you get out of this data? Can anybody tell me? Percentage of adolescents suffering from mental health condition in Himachal Pradesh. Which health is not good? Mental health. And that is due to anxiety. And the reason is already given to you in the picture itself. What is the reason? Only one. And that is mobile. Because mobile consumes your maximum time. So your connectivity with others, with the peers, with the family members is reduced. Matter is very, very important when you find out which data is to be used and where to use. This is data relating to mental situation or trace adolescents suffering from mental health condition. But the same data can be utilized for the purpose of number of users who are using internet. Can we use this one? Please answer me in chat box. Can we use same data, number of people or number of youngsters using mobile can be used or not? In Himachal Pradesh. Yes, you can, that is to a certain extent. That's why it is called secondary data. See, lecture is an interaction, not one way. Morari Bapu ki katha nahi. These two different pictures are showing you the story of pandemic. One person is in the front place, other person is inside. This is nothing but we can see the clear-cut display difference. And this is also to be treated as data. We can utilize this one. This is behavior of retailers. Can we obtain data from website? Yeah. Can we compare website? Okay. Let me ask you a simple question. Very, very simple question. And please answer me in a chat box or even the this audio way. While buying online products from Amazon or Flipkart or any other platform, which platform is more suitable to you? Which platform you feel that it is quite good, easy of access? Can you answer me? My question is, when you go for online buying, then the various platforms are available to you, various websites are available to you, Amazon, Flipkart, Ajio, Tata Click, Tata New. So which one is more comfortable for you?
I feel more comfortable with Amazon, sir.
Which one?
Amazon.
Amazon. Okay.
Yeah.
Fine. 90% people are saying Amazon uniformly. Uniformly. What is the reason behind it? The reason is very simple. They do extensive research. Extensive. What people watch. What people ignore. In which product they check out the reviews. In which product they check out the reviews, even though it is lesser, they buy. See, website or internet interaction or interface, customer interface is also to be treated as one of the area of research, and is also one of the area of data collection. Here I have mentioned, can you see the slide? In this slide, I have mentioned 3 different websites offering similar services. All are offering you electricity. First, Paschim Gujarat. Second, Uttar Gujarat. Both are government companies. But can you see there both websites are different? Access is different. Torrent power is also there. So this is also one of the way in which you can collect secondary data. Most important part. Now, you just look at the above. Comparing advertisement. Let us compare advertisement. First one, Rajpal Yadav in the movie, washing different clothes, Dhobi hai. Second, Chak De India, Shah Rukh Khan. And third is the local shop. What is the difference in all these 3 advertisements? Can anybody tell me? Answer me in chat box or even in the mic. Or there is no difference in all 3 advertisements? Is there any difference? Products are different, but I am talking about advertisement.
Same only, sir, advertisement.
See, first one is Rajpal Yadav. No, let us try to understand in different manner. Which advertisement is costlier? Or which advertisement is spending money? Which marketer is spending money? Which marketer is not spending money? This local marketer, they just display the product. Nothing else. Fine. Second advertisement with the Shah Rukh Khan brand ambassador, they are showing the store itself. And the first one is the Tide. He is the user of the product and he is in that profession. Here in Chak De India, Shah Rukh Khan is in the profession of McDonald's? No, not at all. So you just evaluate different options very carefully in secondary data. आपको दिखने के तो लिए मैं कह सकता हूं everyone is advertising. But purpose of advertisement is absolutely different. Here Rajpal Yadav is TV commercial. Chak De McDonald is nothing but product placement, technically speaking. This advertisement is not there on YouTube or anywhere else. It is inside the movie itself. And the third one, they are not making advertisement, but it is just like a display which create attraction or temptation amongst the consumer. I hope that you try to understand. Data classification, as usual, you know very well. Data which is required to be generated or obtained by the researcher is known as primary data. Secondary data is the data which is already in the existence. Now here biggest issue is that it is in existence, but I don't know where is it. How many of you face the problem that, yes sir, I don't know about the source of the data? Many people don't know from where to get data. We are going to reuse that data. Can we say that annual report of the company can be treated as one of the source of information? Which company's website have you checked out lastly in last 6 months? कौन सी कंपनी की वेबसाइट आपने देखी? Anyone, any damn? Or how many of you are doing research and they would like to get secondary data? Suppose I am doing a business, I am doing a research in the area of consumers' preference for, yes, Mr. Atul says that Tata Motors own website or dealer or distributor's website? Atul ji.
Own website, sir.
There is also separate website of dealer and distributor also. That is also one of the source of information. Even in case of Hyundai also, it is there. Fine. Anyway, let me tell you, annual report is also to be treated as one of the very, very important source of information. Very informative. Because annual report shows the company's activity as well as company's intention, as well as company's future. Company future में क्या करने जा रही है? Different people are using for different purpose. Bankers are using that in annual report from the viewpoint of credit worthiness of the company. Investors are using same data to know the profitability and dividend policy of the company. And government is using same one with intention to know the compliance of Companies Act. See, it may happen that you consider only one data and its usage is different. Secondary data, that means data already in existence. There are several data here, several aspects. Internal data, that means within the organization. Now, internal data. Some data are always sensitive, very sensitive. Third one, number of complaints received in the day. Believe me, this data is very, very important for those service stations who provide services. Very, very important. Look, how companies are doing research from internal data, and also company come to know their own way of understanding working of different departments. Let me give you example. I think you already heard about brand name Hitachi in this case. Now, Hitachi is world-class manufacturer of AC and other things. What is their way of working? How they use the secondary data? They have a policy or procedure that your complaint which they have received should be resolved in 24 hours. So as and when any customer generate complaint, that complaint number is generated, it is displayed to respective service center as well as complaint manager also. And if complaint still remain unresolved, even after 24 hours, then vice president will look into it. They have a system. That's why if you see, minimum complaint is there in case of Hitachi, and they resolved it maximum in 24 hours. And the person who is in charge should give a response that why this complaint has not been resolved even after 24 hours. This is impact, or this is effect, or this is uses of internal data. You can definitely get secondary data from government. How, if I would like to know about company's information, listing, so in that case, I can get data from Ministry of Commerce. I also, each and every department having Ministry of Commerce, different website, and from which you can get it. Suppose I would like to know about purchasing, or I would like to know the penetration. Penetration यानी कितने लोगों के पास है. Penetration of television set in urban Ahmedabad and rural Ahmedabad. यानी कितने घरों में टेलीविजन सेट है अहमदाबाद में, अर्बन एरिया में और रूरल एरिया में. तो मुझे कहां से मिलेंगे? From where I will get it? Or anywhere in the country. In say for example, same question is there in case of Lucknow. How I will get this data? Any idea? Particularly in Gujarat, from where you will get? Any idea? Fine, let me tell you. Government of Gujarat having their own data source, and each respective state also having their own data source. In that case, in case of Gujarat, there is one department. That department is Economics and Statistical Department of Government of Gujarat. They have their own website, they have own source of the data, and they give you all the information free. Not only that, over and above, say for example, they have a data of 2007. Then they collect the data of 2010, then 15, so on. So you can easily do the comparison. What changes has been happened in this condition of the people in that particular area about penetration. Consulting firm. How many of you believe that consulting firm are useful? Really? Do you think that consulting firm is useful? Yes or no? Consulting firm is useful or not? Let me tell you. Consulting firm. There are various consulting firms available across the world. Across the world. Let me show you one or two consulting firms so that you are able to understand it. Let me show you their website. Can you see the website? A roadmap of digital transformation.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. Now this is nothing but website of McKinsey. Now look, this is a report. Report about digital transformation. I want another report. Let me show you. This is very important. Look, 5 opportunities. Report given in 2016. Very short report. 2016, 6 years ago. Second largest market for new consumer class household in the year 2015 to 25. 77 projected share of GDP growth. 90 million college educated workers in the area, in the age group of, in the year 2010 to 2030. Do you think that these college educated workers are useful? Yes, it is useful for developing HR policy. It is useful for creating more housing facility. It is useful for creating, changing your curriculum so that they can make more skillful. See, secondary data are very, very, very important for taking decisions. Let us go further. 69 cities population will be more than 1 million by 2024. 54 in 2012. So there will be 15 new cities that will be added. New cities will be added. That means urbanization will be added. Hence, you require more services, education, banking. Do you think that this figure makes sense? 462 million users will be there. Currently, at that time, 462 million are using internet. Now, due to Jio, this depot has been increased. Now, moral of the story is that you can have it from this website. This BCG is one of the leading consulting company in the world. Have opened the office at here, so you can get data from there also. Next one is regulating authority. You can get data even from SEBI. That is biggest important point. Let us go furthermore in detail. There is a report issued in 2014 by McKinsey about rural India that is called Golden Bird. That shows entire rural market of the India, its potentiality, and they have predicted in 2014 what will be there in 2030. Definitely due to Corona, that effect may be there, but it has been wiped out in current situation. And that report is considered to be one of the biggest achievement for any organization. So they expect something that this is required, and all the companies are taking that estimation as their base for that. So secondary data is also easily available, but important is you know the source. Now, government data I already said. Now these are the various external sources. Regulatory data, SEBI, RBI, IRDA, other aspects. Suppose I'm working on a bank, or my research area is the banking, and I would like to know complaint about banking. So from where I can get data about complaint about banking? Can I get it from RBI website? Yes, you can get it. There is a section in which they mention banking ombudsman. Complaint they have received, complaint they have resolved, complaint there is balance, and complaint which is carried forward. So this is also, and bank-wise data is also available over there. So that is most important part. Independent research report are also important. Nelson, I don't want to say anything in this case. Hansa Research is also one of the area. There is a one book which is actually prepared for marketers but used by many people. Marketing book 2020 to 2023 and contain marvelous data. All type of data. See, for example, internet. How many people are using internet? Age-wise usage of internet. That means 12 to 15, 16 to 25, 25 to 30. Time-wise usage of the internet. सुबह कितने लोग यूज करते हैं, दोपहर को कितने यूज करते हैं, लेट नाइट कितना होता है. So this data is useful because internet service provider company, not only that, mobile companies, battery manufacturers should also take into account this. Now, one of the most important source of information, but most ignored one. How many of you are considering newspaper as one of the important source of information? Newspaper. Kya sir, aap bhi? Let us see what newspaper says. Can you see the newspaper? Yes or no? Here there is a very nice data available in the newspaper. The data shows what is the profitability situation of HCL. HCL retained the revenue guidance net up 2.4. That means company's net profit has been increased by 2.4. But very important is there somewhat. I would like to make it more effective to understand. I make it large. Attrition rate. That means company's profitability is fine. It has been increased. Margin as well has been increased. But the point is that what about number of employees who is losing the organization? So do you think that your profitability will be maintained? Can you think that this data is useful? Yes, it is definitely useful. Now look about other data. Believe me, newspaper always gives you very, very important data. But we are such a person, we never estimate that it is very powerful tool of data. Look. Fund flow in different venture. Private equity inflow in January to July were 28.76 billion from 1049 deals. Venture capital circle data showed. Now look, in 2021, even after Corona, we get more. But in 2022, we are not getting sufficient one. What is the reason behind it? The reason is very simple. War. And mind well, friends, data from newspaper is very, very important. This is Financial Express. I bet you that, sir, some data which gives by newspaper never be available anywhere in any platform. This is data about revenue, margin, and net profit amongst all the players. Look, it is very rare. I cannot have a data of ITC as well as Dabur together, but in the newspaper we can get. We can do very well industry analysis with the help of this data. Look, which is the brand having highest revenue? ITC. Lowest, Marico. See, comparison, net profit. You can easily compare between Marico and Dabur and Godrej. So if I say Godrej having higher sales revenue, अच्छा है, मगर profit Dabur से भी कम है. I can say like that. This is the beauty of secondary data. Let us back to our PPT. Blogs. Various people ignore blogs. They do not consider that blog is important. Sorry. Blog can be treated as one of the important information about product, brand, organization, trend. Suppose somebody is doing research in the area of psychological effect of pandemic. So if Prashant Bhimani, who is one of the leading psychologists, has written one article in the newspaper, that is useful. He has given some interview, that is useful. Some broadcast over there, useful. Business India magazines. We can get data even from magazines. Believe me, magazines are providing such a great information. Particularly Business India. Every month. Yeah, that is a good question, Mr. Ramakrishnan. How to find suitable blogs for topics? In this case, I would like to say that you should identify your subject-related blogs in advance through Google. Mr. Ramakrishna, may I know your discipline?
Sir, HR, sir, stress management.
Stress management. Okay, fine. Then I would like to tell you Hub and Spot. This is one blog in which they mention so many aspects of management. It will be there. And you just check out T.R. Rao. Is there any blog related to him? Or is there anyone HR people write a blog? And here LinkedIn will useful to you. Because there are so many people on the LinkedIn who are professional and who write blogs. And LinkedIn article itself is very useful. Let me tell you, one of the marketing person, Mr. Anand Narasimha, who is from Jagdish Sheth School of Communication, is one of the leading faculty over there. And he used to put 3 minutes video on YouTube about branding. You can take into account. But we are fixed in the mind. Only literature review can be done only with the help of research paper. If possible, let me show you one particular website. One of my leading favorite author may not be your, and that is Rama Bijapurkar. She has her own website, independent marketing consultant. Can you see the website?
Yes, sir. Yes.
See the articles. And in articles, they have also mentioned various segments: business strategy, policy. So you also check out other one, books. So my point is that this is also one of the important source of information. Don't ignore it. Many people ignore newspaper. No, don't ignore, please. Academic and para-academic portals. This is nothing but a website or address. I told you Gujarat data about anything. Gujarat Economics and Statistics Department is there, who is also preparing various types of data, which is available. Not only that, NSSO is that, National Sample Survey Organization is also there, which collecting data about so many things, including HR aspect, including marketing aspect, including general economics aspect, including social aspect. Every type of data is available over there. Now, let us have one important data and how you are interpreting it. Let us try to understand. Here, in one side, I have mentioned that electric vehicles registered in India data till 2021. So definitely we can say that number of people who are buying electric vehicle is increasing in everywhere, in India, Gujarat, Ahmedabad. Now, do you think that electric vehicle market is so fantastic and fabulous? Answer is no. Answer is no. Why? Sir, our secondary data about electric vehicles says it is growing. Everybody is talking about it. Ather is one of the leading brand in that area, and blah, blah, blah. You can say like that. Okay? But now counter check. What is required in e-vehicle? Battery. But you are supposed to check out. Suppose हमने vehicle तो ले लिया. If I check out the potentiality of the market of e-vehicles in Ahmedabad, I have already selected all this aspect. But what about battery? I have to change that battery after a certain period of time. What is the position? Or even the company who is going to start manufacturing e-vehicle, also they require a battery. So you just check out, do we have any Indian company who is manufacturing battery? Check out, all these are foreign. LG Chemical, CATL, Panasonic, SK Innovation, BYD. So can I say that market demand will be there and marketers will be satisfied very easily? No, we cannot. Because battery is one of the crucial aspects. So this you can conclude from secondary data itself. Now, this is very important. Please read out this data carefully. I'm going to ask you some important question from this. Milk production is increasing. Per capita availability of milk is increasing. Everything is increasing. Is it fantastic data? Okay. From my viewpoint, this data is incomplete. Absolutely. I do not rely on this data. This is from one viewpoint useless data. Absolutely. अरे भाई मिल्क प्रोडक्शन कर रहे तो कर ही रहेगा ना. Doesn't make any difference or sense in this case. क्यों? India is occupying large land. Fine. But can I say that per cow or per animal, how much liter we can get? Is that data is available? We have world largest production, but bhai sahab, we also have world second largest population. Are you getting my point? आपके पास दुनिया का सबसे ज्यादा प्रोडक्शन वाला कंट्री है, होगा ही. नई बात क्या है? You should interpret in right manner. Production is increasing. This one is per capita availability of milk per state is also increasing. Availability. Is it a consumption? Let us see this. This is old data, which is in kg, and 2013 average. This is milk consumption. That means per person, how much kg of milk are you consuming? In a year. कहीं पे इंडिया है? Can you find out India?
No.
So what is the sense of this data? We have world largest production. भाई साहब production है, consumption, purchasing power, and milk availability. That means total number of liter produced divided by number of employees, number of people living in India. So most important part in secondary data is to ask yourself which data is important and which data is relevant. Because earlier we have a big question. We have a big question of availability of data. So there was a scarcity of data. Now there is a plenty of data. पहले क्या था? Data availability is the question. Here data reliability and relevancy is the question. Now let us try to understand this one with the help of one small question. You are preparing research paper having following title: Impact of Loan Mafia of Farmers on NPA of Selected PSU Banks. I repeat. Impact of loan mafia by farmers on NPA of selected PSU bank. That means we try to check out that farmers' loan has been ignored, not demanded. Due to that reason, how much NPA, non-performing assets of PSU bank is going to be affected? Does it affect or not? See, it is something like that. There are 500 farmers. Altogether, total amount of loan is 200 crores. And bank say that, okay, fine. As a part of our policy decided by Reserve Bank, we will not do in this case. कि भाई उनसे पैसे नहीं लेंगे. It will increase your NPA. But if this topic is there, then you have to understand very, very fundamental one thing. Sir, we are talking about PSU Bank. In last 3 years, there are so many mergers in PSU Bank. So which bank we have to take into account and which bank we have to ignore? Should we take SBI? I say that no. Why? Sir, in 3 years, before 3 years back, all 7 banks of SBI subsidiary has been merged. So I should ignore. Moreover, I have asked about PSU bank. So PSU bank, yes. Bank of Baroda, no, because Bank of Baroda is also merged. Punjab National also merged. What about unmerged? Yes, there is a Bank of India, which is not merged. So you can take. So selection of the topic also important, because you must have a knowledge, you must have a secondary data of respective area in which you would like to do the research. Okay. Which information is required basically? What government says? Who are eligible for getting relaxation? लोन माफी, सबको लोन माफी दी हुई है, पहले मुझे ये चेक करना है. I have to check out. No sir, सबको नहीं. तो किसको है? Loan माफी is available only to marginal farmers who having land less than this much area. From where I will get that criteria? Reserve Bank circular. So I have to obtain it from Reserve Bank circular. Second, which loan has been waived off? More important. Farmers can get so many type of loan, including personal loan. So you have to check out which loan we are supposed to be. Next, from annual report of RBI, you can also find out this. How much amount of provision is necessary for bank to absorb the loss? यानी बैंक को कितना एनपीए करना पड़ेगा, वो मुझे कौन बताएगा? बैंकिंग रेगुलेशन बताएगा. So each and every aspect having different point, and we have to know from which place you will get all this secondary data. Data which is not in existence and researchers are obtaining for specific purpose, that is called primary data. Data which is specifically prepared by researcher for his own research work. खुद ने अपने research work के लिए collect किए हुए. Say, let us take simple example about primary data and secondary data and some myth. Say, for example, I am doing a research in the area of cycling in the morning. Cycling in the morning in Western Ahmedabad. And there are people who are always finding out shortcut. Always. So they say that, sir, this is not a big deal. I said, oh, yes, there is no big deal. We can very good easily get the data. I say that how? Sir, I have one relationship with Ahmedabad Municipal Corporation who is managing all e-bikes. All e-bikes. So we have a data about all e-bikes. And naturally, in morning time, all these e-bikes or these cycles are in usage. So we can say that number of cycles used by these people is equivalent to cyclists in the morning section. Sorry, sir, we cannot consider this one as one of the best data. Do you have an idea that out of this bicycle, how many are in not working condition? Do you have an idea that all these cycles is remaining idle on weekdays and occupied on weekends? So can I consider all day or weekend? No, you cannot. See, when you select any type of data, you should be little bit conscious about it. Information seeking is one part. How to get information is another part. And your objective of research is supposed to be fulfilled with the collection of the data. If it is not, then it is useless. Let us take simple example. My own example, because in my one of the group of researchers, there are very enthu people, very enthu, utsahi jivda. So they would like to compare service quality of two different multiplexes in Ahmedabad. At that time, new concept of multiplexes were there, and they say that, sir, let us do a survey. I say that fine, you can go. I have no problem. We have prepared question and everything. Everything was finalized, and matter is final. We have determined 3 places and say that, okay, fine, you go and collect data. Fine, we have a team of 9 people. We have allotted three different theaters for that. Now, here comes the point. दूसरे ही दिन मेरे पास वापस आ गए. Very next day, entire Utsa Jheel come down. I said that what happened? Sir, nobody is ready to give answer. क्या बात कर रहे? हाँ, nobody is ready to answer. Really? मैंने बोला आपने कहाँ पूछा? Sir, we find out people everywhere. Then also we could not get data. I said that how? Can you explain me? Sir, first we start with the ticket window. Those people who are standing in a queue, they just give us information but very half. And meantime they get the turn. So they purchase the ticket. So it is not possible to obtain. Second, I say that during interval, sir, they are busy in popcorn. So they are not interested. Third, they say that, sir, we go to the parking also. But they say that we are here getting late. So they just say that they ignore. So we are not in a position to get any data, either before movie, in between the movie, or even after the movie. No information was available. What to do? I say that you just do one thing and you have to spend money. They said, okay, sir, we are fine to spend money. We don't have any problem. Then I say that you do one thing. You meet that snack parlor person, ask him certain amount to be paid to him. In return, he will give at least 10% off on any dish which is served during the interval. And during the interval, along with that order, you hand over that questionnaire to the respondent. And ask theater person also to keep light on for more 5 minutes. Everyone has done it. They get data very effective. Within 2 days, all shows data are collected. And then in weekends, they also have collected. See, data collection technique needs to be modified. You try to understand the practical issue. हमारे यहाँ कोई मुफ्त में डेटा भी नहीं देता है. So we have to arrange for it. Sources of primary data, techniques and tools: survey, focus interview, telephonic interview. See, telephonic interview is useful, but when the respondent is very alert and ready to answer correctly. Otherwise, if you see majority of the people, including all of us, if any bank employee is making survey and genuine, then after 3rd or 4th question, we just give them answer which reduces our time and we just get out of it. Panel discussion is also there, computer aided interview, survey on application. What is this survey on application? Yes. Various bank, various restaurants, Various hospitals are doing it. Suppose you are going for a dinner, 7 or 8 persons are there in your group. You already have finished it, and you are just in the process of making payment. One person will come with a tablet. Sir, your feedback is very important. Can you please fill up this one on tablet? It will take 2 minutes. That is called survey on application. They have their own application for that one. Observation. It is a classic way of communication or of collecting data. HR aspect. We have one particular research area, research work, which we have conducted at least 7-8 years back when this Shell was new in Ahmedabad. And we would like to study the behavior of employee at the petrol pump. And we would like to compare between Shell petrol pump and Indian Oil Corporation. So if I ask this employee directly with the prepared questionnaire, how you deal with the customer, this and that, do you think that these people will give you answer correctly? क्या वो लोग ऐसा बोलेंगे हम सबको अच्छा रखते हैं? No, they never. Actually, even if you say that, you just see that there is a very big quarrel between two people, and they say that no, we have very good relationship with our customer. So what I did, I have given them a list of observation items, what to observe, how employees behaving, how they welcome, how they guide, because generally there is a big issue in case of petrol pump. Generally, when you go with your vehicle, you just look at petrol pump. Nobody will guide you which place they would like to go. Every dispenser is there, but nobody will guide you. But in case of Shell, you will go. There is always one person who is always guiding you. You go to this, you go to there, you go to there. So time will be reduced. So what I do, I hand over them a list of observation. I say that you just stand at the place where you can see all these people, and you observe how these employees are behaving with that customer, and they collect the data. That is nothing but observation. That is nothing but observation. How many of you have purchased Prestige product from their outlet? Prestige के outlet में से आपने कभी कुछ खरीदा होगा? थोड़ा याद कीजिए. Generally, in case of Prestige outlet, they make a show, outside show, banner, discount. All these people are making such because of creating attractiveness. Advertiser always, before spending amount after this banner and other things, they do a survey. They do a checking that how people are keeping, how retailers are keeping this display. And that is based on the basis of your observation. Now, data collection tool or factors affecting data collection, 3 important things. Research design, type of respondent. Type of respondent, does it make any sense? Yes, type of respondent. Suppose if I would like to ask you a question or about the reaction of change in the taste. Horlicks for toddlers. And if I would like to say that how they know about it. So will you ask to the kid of 4 years, 5 years? No. From whom you will collect data? Can you tell me? From mother. So in this case, your respondent is consumer? No. Your respondent is mother. Research design. This is very, very important. Very important. The structure of the research work. If you are doing explorative research, you should go for panel discussion. You should go for in-depth interview. But the same way, when you are going for descriptive research, then you are supposed to go for survey. And nowadays, e-survey, due to COVID, with the help of Google Form, is also important. Data collection and techniques is depending upon literature review and current condition also. Whatever method which you have selected should be supported by literature review. You cannot use haphazardly. And definitely current condition is also very important in this case. In case of primary collection of data, observation, I have already told you, structured, unstructured, and mixed. Now, what is structured and what is unstructured? See, it is something like that. Structured means you have already predetermined. You already have a flow. You already determine that what to ask, which question is to be asked at which particular point. That is called structure. In case of interview also, I think you might have seen Coffee with Karan. So in that case, all questions are fixed. Sequence is also fixed. So how to respond is also more or less you have an idea. But in case of unstructured, when respondent is answering you effectively, fine, definitely, they are doing well. But it is something like that, you just don't want a structured one. आपने इंटरव्यूअर को बोल दिया कि ऐसे ऐसे मुद्दे हैं, ये आपको पूछना है और आंसर देना है. So if respondent is answering you more effectively, in detail, so you may skip or one or two questions which you have kept in the mind. That is called unstructured. यानी आपने पहले से कोई डिसाइड नहीं किया है. You say that ये information लेनी. Matter ends. Now, observation. Observation is very useful in case of organized retailing. One minute. It is nice that I have a rain now, so I must get the advantage of that situation. So I just open the window. In case of retailing, organized retail, generally used by all these big bazaar, vendor, they have several cameras. What is the use of this camera? This camera is used very systematically with the observation. In which department highest number of people are going? In which department highest number of people are going but not buying? In which department people are going and not standing at all and just get out of it? In which department people are spending much more time? Footfall is right. Footfall is right. But again, other than footfall, for footfall, there is one person who is standing at the gate. He is keep on counting. He having a machine of the counting. How many people go inside? But department-wise, this is very important. In which department people go and maximum discussion is taking place. In which department people find uncomfortable, so that you can make a space there, space management. That is most important part. Fine. Observation is selection and recording of behavior of people or organization in their environment, it is very useful for generating in-depth description of organization or event. See, in questionnaire, you have to ask questions. You have to collect data from other person. But if other person is not ready to give you data, then what to do? You cannot go further. Hence, observation is used in that case. Here I have made a clarity about structured questionnaire and unstructured questionnaire. Unstructured questionnaire means questionnaire in which there is no actual questionnaire. There are points to be discussed or points to obtain information relating to. Look, observation very nice. If a toy making company has developed different toys, but they are confused about color. Which colors are more preferred? So they conduct a study in KG amongst boys and girls. And one researcher will be there. And then researcher will be given one structured questions that boys, which color they prefer more, which color they have used maximum time in 1 hour, which shape has been used, and that all will be collected from children. That is primary data, that is observation. Disguised observation. Respondents are unaware that they are being observed. So in case of kids, disguised, they have no idea कौन क्या कर रहा है. Next, participative observation. This is not much more famous in India. In participative observation, that means one dummy customer is created, dummy person is created. Even in psychology, it is used very well. He go to the store, he make a complaint, and they try to understand the behavior of the consumer. You want to know the behavior of cash counter staff with the customer in mall. One assistant has been appointed on temporary basis in the mall near cash counter. Such assistant will observe cash counter staff closely and report accordingly. This is a very nice technique used in BBC Earth. There is one channel in which they have a dummy camera, dummy animal with camera. So they observe or capture behavior of different generally. In case of observation, we prepare checklist. In case of survey, we prepare questionnaire. Now look, observation checklist. If I would like to know the most preferred and reason for that preferred mall, then I check out basic aspect, store location, size of the store, atmosphere. Now, if I would like to do a comparative study of service quality of selective branches of the bank, so this can be used. Branch location, size of the location, attitude of the cashier or manager, space movement. Some banks are such that person like me and you entered, then bank is over. बहुत छोटी ब्रांच होती है, और कई ब्रांच ऐसी होती है जिसमें बहुत अच्छी तरह से चेयर भी रखी होती है कस्टमर की. So that can be done. In case of detergent powder, visibility of different brands, we can easily see. Suppose I am a marketing manager of Tide, then I just check out how my product has been displayed by various retailers. So I am not going to ask them. I will send my salesperson and you just observe. And then all this aspect will be filled out by him. Now, what is questionnaire? Anyone? Ma'am, it is 6:53. Do we have a time?
Yes, sir. 10 minutes to go and 5 minutes for questions. Question answer session.
Okay, fine. Now, questionnaire. What is questionnaire? What is the relationship of questionnaire with other aspect of the research? See, mind well. Questionnaire having direct relationship with your research objective. Your research objective should be reflected in the form of question. Because before you collect data, before you start preparing questionnaire, you have to check out what you would like to find out. And that same find out should be converted into questionnaire. Most important part. Questionnaire is a set of questions prepared with intention to obtain particular type of information. Formalized set of questions for obtaining information from respondent. Now here most important part is respondent. So you have to develop questionnaire with reference to particular class of respondent. It is not just a series of questions, but it is a series of questions which provide you necessary information. Questionnaire is a research instrument consisting of a set of standardized questions to gather statistically useful information. This is more important. Here comes the LR. I have to check out that in previous research, which type of data has been collected, which type of statistical tool has been used, which type of statistical test to be done, and I have to define my questionnaire accordingly. I have to use scale accordingly. And that scale should be proven one. Look, this is very, very important. While designing questionnaire, you should take into account three things: research gap, rationality of study, and objective of research work. Now, objective of research work will be reflected in the form of development of hypothesis also. This is very, very important. And generally, in case of all this work, you have to find out which are the controllable variable and which are not controllable variable. Next, most important, determine tone, words, language used in the question. How you collect data? What is your tone? Do you think that with this tone, respondent is going to give you answer? Pre-testing. That means before you finalize your question, you have to ask to 30 people. You check out that whether you are getting correct information from all this or not. And then after, chronological order of questionnaire to be changed. This is most important. Questionnaire need to be motivating, informative, and should make an attempt of reduce your error. It should translate information in most important way in the form of specific question. This is your process. I don't go in between, but this you can easily get it. But more important is the structure of the question. Generally, 95% people are making huge mistake. I would like to say blunder. Huh? What? Just starting the questionnaire. Name, address, email ID, phone number, residential place, age, gender. If I ask you some question, same way, what will happen? You will feel that, what is this here? This is an inquiry window. ये क्या है यार? Where do you work? What is your income? So all these demographic questions should not be kept in the beginning. This question should be at the end. Mind well. First part is questions with very, very easy to answer. So the involvement of the respondent will be highest in the nature. And that will setting the tone. So other person is ready to answer. He should not feel that, "Arey yaar, ye kahan aa gaya?" You know, most important part is this. Second one is most important. This should be respect to your research objective. More complex will be in second stage. Most with the scale, with the option, sub question, and it is also desirable that every time you should not do a state that you hand over the paper and other person will read and answer. No, keep your paper yourself with the question. You ask the question, collect data, you put appropriate place tick mark. It may happen that other person is not able to understand. Language barrier. Not able to answer properly. So it is better in that way. That's all from my side. Now I am opening for question answer session.
Yes, sir, that was very wonderful and very informative session with all examples. And I am sure that new researchers would have gained a lot from your session. Thank you so much for that. Avinash, sir, can you take the questions, please? If there are any.
Yes, Ramakrishnan
Yes, ma'am.
sir has
Just a minute.
given me a question. How do we get models of question? See, there is no model of question. You have to develop that questions according to your requirement. First of all, you check out what is your research objective. Say, for example, you try to find out the reasons for leaving the job. Job attrition rate is high. So in that case, you just check out what are the primary reasons in that case. Now that should be supported by LR. And respect to your industry, you have to make modification. And then you develop the question. I hope, Mr. Ramakrishna, you get the answer satisfactory.
Sir, I was trying to understand like different scales in a particular topic,
Like,
say attrition or stress. So I found it very difficult to get these questionnaires from the net. And when I searched, I didn't get it. It was very difficult. So I just wanted to know how.
Let us understand. Suppose attrition is there and stress is there. Okay. Stress is something different as compared to attrition. Stress is routine activity or activity which is repetitive in nature. But in case of attrition, person is saying bye to the organization. That is only one time happening. So in that case, you are supposed to analyze the situation and then develop it. There is no fixed format in that case. Say for example, attrition. Say for example, in IT industry, attrition rate is always high. Okay. One of the reasons which you can also find out with the support of LR, and that is very high pay. And third is always availability of opportunity. So if you start to study, then these two factors are always playing significant role in that case. So you develop that questions in that, you develop question on this basis. In trace, it is altogether different story. It may be due to job profile, it may be quality of the person, it may be work pressure which is created in that organization due to organization culture, like that. Both are different things. You cannot same treatment to be given in this case.
If I see 5 questionnaires, then I'll get 5 types of problems that people are facing. So I'm not able to get these questionnaires which will give me the right.
No. You just try to do one thing. You try to do one thing. Suppose stress. You check out its internal reasons, external reasons. Now, out of this external and internal result, then you also add industrial reason. That means particular class of industry carry particular type of stress. So to what extent these are there? And then third one is the other factor. And then you check out with the LR and current industry for which you are doing to work. Then check out which are relevant, which are not relevant. And then you go ahead.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Any other participants, if you want to ask questions, you can unmute yourself and please ask questions directly to sir. Okay, sir. Seems there are no
questions. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much for your informative session. That was really very lively and very informative. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for listening me for long period of time.
So that is it. It is always pleasure, sir, attending your session. Okay, Avinash, sir. So should we conclude the session?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So all the participants, see you tomorrow at 4 sharp. Thank you so much. Have a nice evening. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, ma'am.